Bring on Nebraska. Let's go after the bye week. Come on, Bruins.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxheimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, where you can start the season off big with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and if you win, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Where we get started today is, let's always do it, keys to the game. UCLA, Nebraska. Maybe I'm in a good mood because the Dodgers won the World Series and we went to the parade and we're going crazy out there downtown Los Angeles. Well, someday we're going to keep parading with UCLA. Now let's get to Deshaun Foster to build this program up to something special. So let's talk about the Cornhuskers. This is supposed to be a poor weather game. It's not exactly a full guarantee, but looking at different things, whether it's, your own app on your phone, whether it's, special places in Lincoln. The meteorologist in Nebraska is saying that, temperature around 50 degrees, 60 degrees, breeze about 10 to 20 miles per hour. And there's about, 30 to 40, maybe 50% chance of rain. So we'll see what it's going to be. And according to the meteorologist, Brad Anderson, he said, just be prepared. It's going to have a southeast wind in this game. But it'll be cool. It's not exactly cold Big Ten weather with snow and everything on the ground, but it's going to be something UCLA has to take care of, which is their key of the game, number one. UCLA, they have to take care of the football, all right? I already talked about this in the quarterback versus quarterback duel versus Raiola versus Ethan Garbers. UCLA must take care of the football, and it's even more important in a poor weather game because UCLA, in my knowledge, from watching all these games, there has simply not been a poor weather game yet. It's just been poor decision-making, poor play calling, and just poor protection. All right, put all those together, and that's what you have for UCLA. Can the Bruins take care of the football? And how do they handle the weather? It might not even be a big thing. And hey, heck, even in Southern California, we've been getting more poor weather, although it hasn't rained in a minute out here in Southern California. But we've had a little more weather. It's been a little cooler than when it gets a little cooler weather. And we're finally feeling fall. So the Bruins know what it's feel like in 50 degrees. Can the Bruins take care of the football? Nebraska's got a solid defense with Tony White, which already has the connection to UCLA because he was the defensive coordinator for Nebraska that applied for the UCLA job. And some, post the beginning of the season, have thought that he should have earned the job and maybe should have taken the job instead of Deshaun Foster. But UCLA ended up going with Deshaun, and we're rolling with their guy Deshaun right now. And hopefully UCLA can dial up another performance offensively like they did against Rutgers. Except Nebraska is not the same defensively as Rutgers. They're much better. They're more physical. They can make plays. And even against Ohio State, who's coming off a bye, against, Chip Kelly's offense, they're physical. They're ready to play, and they kept their offense in it to the end, even though their true freshman quarterback could not handle it. And so what do I think about this game? There's every facet of the game is important, right? So special teams, how's that? Field position is important. You can't leave points on the board. So what does that mean? If UCLA has a chance to pin them deep, this is where Brody Richter comes involved. UCLA's done that quite a few times this year, and they need to do that again by pinning the Cornhuskers. All right? They have to control field position. All right? Not just the line of scrimmage, which is an inch by inch, yard by yard battle. It's field position. Can Richter pin them deep? Because UCLA is not going to go down and score 35 points in this game, I think. That would be stunning. Rutgers, it was one of those all right, that was something. I was like a bottle ready contained and just explode. But now what UCLA has is a kicker that's been pretty accurate. Can he handle the change in wind? Where's Deshaun Foster comfortable with him kicking? And are they going to be more aggressive? Or are they going to give themselves short fields, pin them deep, make the defense make a play? If they pick off Raiola, could it be a little closer to their end zone they're going after, right? Can they shorten the field in this game? That's why special teams is huge. Not missing field goals and Brody Richter doing good things. And all the special teams coverage units need to be on point because this is a game that could get broken open if it's not going to be decided by more than one score by a unit that fails to cover downfield or makes a penalty or something, right? Because there's plenty of times when you go on a big return, a block in the back at the 15 after a big return, and next thing you know, you're at your own 7, and that changes field position. Short field, that's 3 points. That's 7 points the other way. Okay, so for UCLA, they cannot turn it over more than once against Nebraska because they've been turning it over just about every time, it seems like, other than the one start against Penn State. So they can't turn it over multiple times. And 2, you can't leave points on the board / you have to win field position. You have to have the field position on your side. And 3, defensively, UCLA has to prove their physical defense. All right. Nebraska, they run the ball, maybe not as successful as their fan base would like. And they're leaning on a true freshman quarterback that will test the UCLA secondary. The Bruins have to be physical. It's not just answering the bell in the run game. It's can they get past the offensive line for Nebraska, right? Can they get past Matt Rule's offensive line to get to that true freshman quarterback and force him into more mistakes than he is used to, okay? That's something that UCLA has, well, obviously, they've had a challenge with that all year. That's why they have one of the worst third down defenses in the country. Rule is going to be having some deep shots dialed up early in the game to see how the wind, how the throwing, how all of that affects this game. And can UCLA, unlike what they did against Rutgers, will they get that 3 and out, or are they going to allow that 3rd and long conversion? And that's how this game will be played. They convert. The Bruins have to be physical up front, physical in the middle, handle the run game, not get fooled by anything, but break through, make a play, all right? Make a play for UCLA, all right? That's what they need to do in this game, okay? 1 for each thing. Can't turn over more than once. 2, you have to win the special teams battle in this game. You have to. If they lose, if it's missing field goals, if it's a shanked punt, if it's poor kickoff, any of those things, penalties on special teams, that will completely hurt UCLA as an underdog on the road against Nebraska, which I think for UCLA is a winnable game. More winnable than that Murderer's Row 4-game stretch, but it is a winnable game. And 3, defensively, the Bruins have to get pressure on Raiola. All right. I like to see close to 6 QB pressures for UCLA. Hopefully a sack and at least 2 tackles for loss. And you think those are low numbers, but the Bruins have gone through many stretches of games this season with not that great of numbers when it comes to forcing negative plays. All right. At least 3 negative plays in the first half. At least 3 negative plays. And then we know the Bruins are in it, and it can be then it's just a schematics battle in the second half, who adjusts and who doesn't. Okay. That is what UCLA needs to do. Now we're going to roll over, go back to the hardwood, talk what UCLA might look at. Not a full look at, but a look at what UCLA can and needs to do against Rider. All right. Not a full preview, just hey, this is what UCLA can do. All right. Next, a Locked on UCLA. Our fans and our friends, mostly our friends at 5 Hour Energy, know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby. It's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or agonizing second overtimes, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5-Hour Energy Shot, a special flavor called Fan Fuel. It's the energy shot made for super fans just like us. The fans who are first in the parking lot, last to leave, we see you. And you know what gave me some fan fuel this week? UCLA fans, some UCLA fan fuel. It was the Bruins dominating that exhibition. 100-64, kicking the butt of Cal State LA like they're expected to the day before Halloween, on the day of a championship victory for the Los Angeles Dodgers. All right. So 5-Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether prepping for that tailgate, ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5-Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5-Hour Energy. Available on 500energy.com, shipped nationwide. Here we go. Locked on UCLA, second segment. We're talking basketball because the Bruins are hosting the Rider Bronx. How do you spell Bronx? Not just where the Los Angeles Dodgers won that title in the Bronx. We're talking the Rider Bronx. Broncs. The Bronx. So the Bronx, who hail from Lawrence Township, New Jersey, play their games at Alumni Gymnasium, just took on a D2 team in Holy Family University. They took on a D2 team, and they only won by 5. Yes, there's many factors, but you look at the numbers, it was a close game at the half, and Rider had to hold on late to beat Holy Family in a game with 1,500 in attendance, close to by the time UCLA plays a week in advance. Holy Family did not force a lot of turnovers. Rider did not force a lot of turnovers. They leaned a lot on Tariq Ingraham. They have a Wake Forest transfer on their roster. This is a team that went 15-17 a year ago. So I wonder what UCLA will look like. But the Bronx hammered the boards. They had 10 offensive rebounds, but only 6 second chance points. And they shot 33 free throws. So UCLA, I think a couple of things looking at this first matchup against Rider is how can the Bruins hit the glass? Because UCLA, they have not hammered the glass as well last year, they didn't hammer the glass. Looking at the numbers in the closed-door scrimmage, with what Mick Cronin trotted out there with the stat sheet, can the Bruins, with a Rider team that doesn't have a player over 6'9", hit the glass well if they go small, which is most likely going to involve Eric Daly Jr., Tyler Bilodeau, Sky Clark, Kobe Johnson, and Dylan Andrews. All right, that's what it looks like so far for Mick Cronin as a starting 5. And if Cal State LA wasn't big, if Rider isn't that tall, then I think that's what Cronin's going to trot out. That would be the third consecutive outing that we know of that UCLA would use that lineup. I'm not sure if he changes things. Prior to the Rider game, that's what UCLA has gone with in recent times. So what Rider did was they hit a bunch of threes as well. They went 10 of 17. TJ Weeks Jr. and Jay Alvarez combined for 8 of 13, and then Andre Young off the bench playing 23 minutes, hit 2 of 3. So Rider's three-point shooting came from 3 guys who went a combined 10 for 16. Rider went 10 for 17 for the game, but 3 guys hit their threes. And the numbers have involved Cal State LA, who did keep the Bruins to within 16 in the first half before UCLA pulled away, and San Diego State, with a depleted backcourt in that closed-door scrimmage matchup against the Bruins. Both those two teams, looking at the numbers, had at least 1 or 2 guys, specifically one guy, go off from downtown, a team that is supposed to be so deep that Cronin can go out there and have whoever his best defensive players are and shut them down. That hasn't been the case. So some things I want to look for, can UCLA hit the glass? Because if they're struggling with the small lineup to rebound, that doesn't bode well if Cronin wants to go quick and press up-tempo if the Bruins need rebounds and if the team breaks the press. So can they hit the glass? I think they can, but that's something to look forward to. And defending the 3. UCLA last year was not the best at defending the 3, and they were one of the worst prior to a late season spark where they got hot from downtown, that they were one of the worst. They would lose almost every game when it comes to looking at the three-point numbers, generally, whether it's more makes at higher efficient looks, jacking them up. However you look at it, UCLA has to be able to defend a 3. If they can't, there's going to be teams in the tournament that will line it up from downtown. Teams in the Big Ten Conference. Some of these non-conference opponents, they're going to run straight to the three-point line, and they're going to let it fly. If one guy's knocking it down, one superhuman effort can embarrass the Bruins. So I'd like to see UCLA say, hey, regardless if it's a 1, 2, 3-man effort on the opposition side who can shoot threes, have them go combined 2 for 9 as opposed to 7 for 8. All right. And then what I'm also looking for against Rider for UCLA is where do they go off the bench? Who are the guys that key minutes off the bench? Is Stefanovic a straight switch for Johnson? Are they on the court both at the same time as big-time leaders, one by action, the other one more verbally as a second-year player for UCLA. Who is earning those minutes at all those spots? Because Cronin can turn in a new 5 at the under 16, at the under 12, at the under 8. He can flip in new fives, and have different players playing with each other for the entire game. I just wonder where Mick Cronin is going to go to for that first competitive game when the score is tight, or he needs to blow the door open before he lets the Brandon Williams of the world, before he lets Eric Frenier, right? Some of those guys, Devin Williams, who I think will be on the course for most likely redshirting, but get that opening night game. Because you can still play in a game or two before you redshirt. You don't have to sit out every single game. It's a percentage-based thing for redshirts. And that game against Rider, although lots of these UCLA games early on, other than New Mexico game, prior to December, will be blowout-like games. So we will see a lot of players with a lot of numbers who won't get that time come mid-December and Big Ten time, unless they are in dire need of some support at every position. Okay? And then, is Eric Daly Jr. going to man the 5, as Cronin said he wouldn't do? Or is it going to be a collective effort from UCLA as they continue to force pressure full court? All things I'm looking forward to against Rider. Next, it's prediction time on Locked On UCLA. Are you ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook? If you are, right now, if you're a new customer, you can get a $5 bet. If you win, you can get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Again, the FanDuel Sportsbook app keeps giving you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. That hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. If you want to view the live play-by-play, and there's so much more on the same page where you place your bets. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Cruising on into the final segment of Locked On UCLA today. All right, so yes, I was at the parade cheering on those Dodgers, saying, let's go, let's go. Maybe you got to Dodger Stadium. Maybe you're excited. Maybe you're excited that Dave Roberts, Doc, goes out there and beats Aaron Boone in a UCLA versus USC World Series top. Don't talk about Garrett Cole. It's okay, whatever. He's a Yankee. You know, head for head, Bruins for life. You're not for 4 years, Aaron Boone. Suck it, all right? I can make terrible jokes about what it's to be like as a USC fan, all right? You know what? I wouldn't know. I can make bad jokes. We're not going to go there. Where we're going to go is prediction time for UCLA versus Nebraska, all right? So what is this game looking like? If you look at FanDuel, pop it up. Yep, America's #1 sportsbook. This game has Nebraska -6.5, all right? -6.5. Second straight game where UCLA is about a one-score dog on the road with a bye in between these games. So what is UCLA going to do? Nebraska poses a very different matchup than it did versus Rutgers. Although Nebraska only beat Rutgers 14-7. And UCLA went on the road and blitzed them 35-32 with a bigger lead prior to that turnover late in the fourth quarter. All right. So what do I think is going to happen? I'm going to roll with the bet against UCLA rule. All right. Last time it worked, you know, the reverse jinx of sorts. And I think Nebraska, when it comes to a final score in this game, is going to win this 21-17, 21-16, right? There's going to be something funky when it comes to a kick or two. And as I talked about before, UCLA has to take care of the football. You have to. You can't just turn it over multiple times. And Garbers played an absolutely flawless game against Rutgers. If Garbers and Eric Bieniemy, for the second straight game, second time in 3 weeks, mind you, against a much better defensive opponent, I think with a healthier defense than Rutgers had, then we should start believing, Garbers is going to start every game for the rest of the season, and Eric Bieniemy is going to keep his job for a second year. All right. And you're like, Zach, they've only played, right? But if that happens in this game, they've proved twice in a row that they're something capable, and it would give, I would think, all UCLA fans a lot of confidence heading into that Iowa matchup on a short week Friday night, homecoming versus the Hawkeyes. But again, yes, I still do believe UCLA with some weather against a stout, just a dominant Nebraska D, when they flex their muscle, that they will struggle. And I'm not sure it all has to deal with Eric Bieniemy or Garbers. It's just they're a good unit. And if UCLA can't protect, they can't run block, then we will see something similar. Although I think UCLA in this game will get a short field, maybe not be able to punch it in for 7. And this game will hinge on the aggressiveness or the conservative approach for Deshaun Foster, right? Is he going for it early? Does he feel the heat? Or at that second win under his belt? This is Deshaun Foster who was talking after that Rutgers win. He's thinking bowl opportunity, right? He's thinking they can go on a run for a bowl. And preseason, when optimism was a bit higher for this UCLA team, prior to us realizing how good Indiana is and how tough those 4 games would be, we were thinking this team could flirt with 4 to 5, possibly 6 to 7 wins, and maybe get a bowl, although that would be a lot for Deshaun Foster to handle. But this back half of the schedule is a more winnable portion than it was from September into early October. I still think the Bruins fall short in this game, and I think it's all going to come down to Nebraska being more physical. It might not even be the most fun game to watch. Nebraska hasn't always played beautiful football this year or in recent years because they've been waiting since 2016 to celebrate just a bowl berth. Think of how many iterations we've had of UCLA since 2016, right? That was Jim Mora to Chip Kelly to Deshaun Foster. Now, the only thing that makes me wonder about my prediction, right, the 21-16, 21-17, and you can't always base things off the past or, earlier in the season, but Nebraska seems to do weird things in one-score games. They're just like a curse or something right now. They're just a curse. Whether it's there's just something that's going wrong generally in one-score games. And it's not like the 14-7 variety where it's just ugly and nobody can score. I'm talking like, all right, there's a couple of scores, you need to hold them, there's a pick, there's a fumble, they give up a score late. There's something weird. So as much as I'm picking Nebraska in a one-score game, this game could be won or lost for both teams in a one-score game on something fluky, all right? Whether it's a fair catch signal that did or did not win a Big Ten game a couple years ago in conference play that led to a punt return for a touchdown, or maybe it's calling back a kick return that UCLA had for a touchdown a couple weeks ago against Rutgers. I think, if it's one-score woes that has haunted Nebraska and kept them from any sort of bowl winning season in the last 8-9 years, then maybe UCLA can get lucky on the road. And I'm not saying they're going to go get blown out, but the Bruins are in for a tough, long, gritty battle that I just don't think they are going to put up 35 points as easily as they did against Rutgers. I don't think so. They can come to play. They can keep it tough, keep it close for 4 quarters, and steal one out in the end. But they would have to play a flawless game on the road with a little bit of weather, an anxious fan base that wants that 6th win. And the one little mini X factor is, does the true freshman quarterback play like a true freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola, who has not thrown a touchdown pass in the month of October heading into November? Or does he play like his September self, where he had 9 touchdowns to 2 interceptions and had Nebraska rolling and had me thinking, hey, they could maybe be that team that challenges like Indiana is right now with Curtis Rourke for an outside shot at a Big Ten title berth. That's not the case because Indiana rolled them. Nebraska lost to Illinois. They're still a force, though, to be reckoned with. And UCLA does not, at this point, and has not shown the physicality capable of handling Nebraska's front. I do think this will be close, and I hope UCLA pulls it out. But again, the bet against UCLA rule, and I hope they win. I just don't know if they will in this game. But as long as we're seeing positive signs, then that's much better than what UCLA was getting after 3-4 straight weeks of blowouts when they weren't within 2 or 3 scores. Okay? So they're building. If they get a win, then all right, the hype train is real, right? It's getting real to like, hey, they can turn into a machine to get some wins. But we don't need to be disappointed unless they just do absolutely something stupid to lose this game. We can't be disappointed with a loss unless it's just like they had it there and they just handed it to Nebraska. I'll have to temper my expectations depending on how the game goes, which is why you should check out the post-game reaction on Locked On UCLA after the game, all right? We'll try and get it up as quick as possible, the post-game reaction about the Bruins taking on Nebraska on Saturday at 12:30 Pacific on the road. Let's get excited. So get your hands up, 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Like, comment, download, subscribe. We got basketball season starting soon. Football's got the back half of the schedule where they can look a lot better, hopefully. Let's get it down, and you should follow Locked On UCLA. Thanks for your support. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.